Hello and welcome to another edition of Feel This Pain. I'm Ken McKim, and tonight we're going to be talking about the condition known as Syringomyelia. Syringomyelia is a disorder in which a cyst called a syrinx forms within the spinal cord. And as you might imagine, as this cyst grows larger, it can damage the spinal cord tissue around it, leading to all sorts of unpleasant symptoms. Now, while syringomyelia has multiple causes, it's most commonly seen in association with something called Chiari malformation, which is a neurological disorder where part of the brain descends out of the bottom of the skull and into the spinal cord area. But that's another video. So what kind of symptoms are we talking about? Well, according to the Mayo Clinic website, you can expect to experience any of a combination of the following: muscle weakness and wasting, loss of reflexes, loss of sensitivity to pain and temperature, stiffness in your back, shoulders, arms, and legs, pain in your neck, arms, and back, bowel and bladder function problems, muscle weakness and spasms in your legs, and facial pain or numbness. Sounds fun? Not. So, for some people, relief might be found by draining the syrinx by use of what's called a shunt. However, according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, fewer surgeons are actually recommending that as a first strike option, opting to use that more as a last resort. Instead, it seems that a lot of surgeons are recommending now to just increase the space around the syrinx to keep it from pressing in on those spinal cord fibers. So while there's no widespread agreement on how best to treat these kind of disorders, one thing that is absolutely not in dispute is the amount of pain associated with them. According to Medscape.com, pain is a prominent feature in syringomyelia in up to 90% of the patients that present with it. That's a fairly significant number, wouldn't you say? So, what kind of pain are we talking about? Well, some have described the pain as a burning sensation, pins and needles even, and oftentimes it might feel like your skin is being stretched, as horrible as that is to contemplate. So when we're talking about severe pain, it seems to be localized, depending again on the position of the syrinx, in the neck, the upper back, and the shoulders, which has led some doctors to refer to this as the cape effect. So how best to describe this pain to most people in a way that they will understand? Well, the pins and needles part, sure, that's fairly easy. All of us at one time or another have experienced having their hand or their foot fall asleep. So imagine that pins and needles pain and kind of ratchet it up and then move it to the cape area of your back and shoulders. Now, as far as really communicating the intensity that can reach, for those of you who've been to Disneyland or any penny arcade that has this game, you might be able to relate to it a little bit better. If you imagine this, there used to be a game where you put the quarter in and it has these metal handles that you hold on to, and it generates an electrical current into your hands, and the object is to hold on as long as you can as the current increases until finally it gets so painful that you have to just let go. So imagine getting to the most pain you can endure on this arcade game and then not being able to let go. As far as the skin pulling, imagine if your arm was horribly sunburned and someone who's not your friend came up to you and took your sunburned arm and then twisted the skin in differing directions, pulling that sunburned tissue. One thing else I want to bring your attention back to is that symptom that the Mayo Clinic had listed as far as numbness in your hands or your feet. And you might think, well, numbness is preferable to pain, but go ahead and make your hand fall asleep intentionally and try to do anything meaningful with it. Try to write with it, try to eat with it, try to tie your shoelaces. It's going to be very difficult. The same with walking. If your feet are numb, you can't really feel where you're placing them, and balance becomes an issue. Plus, the further ramifications of not being able to feel pain can be fairly scary, because pain is our body's way of telling us we've been injured and we need to do something about it. And even a paper cut, if you don't feel it and you don't treat it, can evolve into something quite nasty and smelly and infected and bad. So the ability to not feel pain in this instance is not necessarily a blessing of any kind. As with so many other invisible diseases and conditions, those who have Syringomyelia are living with the daily pain that most of us will never be able to relate to or understand. And if you meet someone who's going through this, I would admonish you to treat them with the respect and the compassion that they deserve. They need it, and it will be appreciated. And that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me, ken@don'tpunishpain.com. As always, thank you so much, and until next time, I'm Ken McKim. You take care.